Hello, friends. My name is Sean Cooper. You're about to get the scoop on storytelling. A few years ago, or a couple years ago, I was sitting in my living room with my kids, and we ran out of things to do, and I was tired of listening to them say they wanted to watch more TV. So I sat down and said, no, guess what? We're going to tell some stories. And they said, you mean read a book? I said, no, I'm going to tell you a story. Go sit down on the couch. So they sat down on the couch, and I took this stool that we have in our living room, put it in the middle of the living room, and they said, all right, once upon a time. And I proceeded to tell them a story that I just made up there on the spot. It was a very basic story. There were woodland creatures in it that lived in a magical forest. The trees started to die because of a mysterious disease. So the woodland creatures went on a journey to cross an ocean, climb a mountain, and find a magical cure to save their trees. And they traveled back to their forest in a hot air balloon that they built and arrived just in the nick of time to save the day and lived happily ever after. They were amazed at the fact that I was telling them this story. I wasn't reading a book and I wasn't putting on a TV show for them to watch, but I was telling them a story. And my oldest daughter said, now it's my turn. That was not my anticipation, but she jumped up and wanted the turn. So I said, all right, sit on the storytelling stool and you can tell a story and I'll listen. So I sat there and I listened as she told basically the same story that I told, with just a few changes in the characters and a few changes in the obstacles that they faced. And when she was done, then my other daughter said that she wanted a turn. So she sat down, and she was still working on her language at the time. She was still doing a lot of 2-year-old babble, but she sat down and she told a story with the words that she had, and using facial gestures and noises, she told a great story, and we all applauded each other, and we all took a turn, a few more rounds, and told stories to each other. This was a great teaching experience, I found out, because storytelling is a lost art form. And when I say that, I mean I don't mean that there aren't still storytellers in this world. Most of the storytellers that we are familiar with are people who make TV shows and movies and write books. And it's great that we have these storytellers and we can get stories from all around the world, from lots of different kinds of people, and bring it into our home. But storytelling as an art form, as something that just the average person does and engages in, has been lost, because before there was internet and TV and radio, before there were even books to bring stories into your home, people had to tell stories to each other, to their family members, or to their community to keep themselves entertained. And it's something that we don't do anymore. But if you do it with your kids, it's a great opportunity to teach some really important skills. First of all, creativity. My girls had to learn some creativity to tell stories, and they were able to pull from their own experiences or things in the room or just things they imagined to tell these stories. They had to learn how to be an active listener. I began to coach them through listening to the person who was telling the story. We had certain rules that if someone was telling a story, that you had to listen by not interrupting and not looking at a toy or a book of your own, but by listening and engaging with the story. They had to learn time constraints, that even though it was their turn and there was no clear, definite end to their turn of telling the story, that they had to tell the story within 5 minutes. They couldn't just sit on the storytelling stool and eat up all of the time to tell a story. So they had to learn how to do that. They had to learn how to have a beginning, a middle, and an end to their story. They couldn't start in the beginning, in the end. They couldn't start in the middle. They had to start at the beginning. And they had to follow the story through. They had to have continuity through their story as well, and develop that discipline that if they were going to tell a story about talking alligators that got in a boat to go to a secret mountain, they couldn't change it halfway through to talking ducks who took an airplane to go to a jungle. And they had to develop that discipline to stick with their story. And they also had to learn how to exist within certain rules of a story as well. We sometimes would make a rule like, okay, this story has to be about magical creatures, or sometimes it would have to be about people, or sometimes it would have to be about a forest or a jungle or an ocean, and they'd have to stay within the parameters of those rules. And I got to coach them through using facial expressions and gestures and raising and lowering their voices at dramatic or scary parts of the story, and coaching them through developing their nonverbal communication skills. It was a great experience. And what's even better is when the cousins all came over to the house, we then took a turn having all the cousins tell stories to each other. And it was a chance for every person to have a chance at telling a story. Some were better than others. Some made more sense than others, but it didn't matter. Everybody got a turn. Everybody was applauded for their efforts, and everybody felt good. It built confidence to get up there and to do something that, even if you weren't very good at it, it gave you a chance to exercise that muscle. We can't leave the storytelling to the professionals. We can't do it. We need to teach our kids that Anybody can tell a story. Maybe they won't be very good at it. Maybe they won't really like it, but it is a discipline worth developing. If nothing more than just to teach our children that you can do something for just sheer enjoyment. We can't leave storytelling to the professionals, because then we're saying that only those who are really good at something should be the ones to do it. That's a bad idea. We can't leave it up to just people who are really good at it. Take the time to develop storytelling in your kids, teaching them that they can gain enjoyment from telling a story even if they aren't very good at it. And on top of it, they can learn a lot of very important skills that are otherwise difficult to teach. And the skills they learn through storytelling can be applied to many other activities and disciplines. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later. Good luck.